The Detroit Lions have an opportunity to do something they have never done. And, just like the movie 8 Mile, I know everything you're about to see against me. The Detroit Lions are the only OG team to never be to a Super Bowl. We have yet to win the NFC North. It was realigned in 2002, and we have never done that. We haven't won a playoff game in 60 plus years, and we have never, ever, ever hosted a playoff game at Ford Field. All those things, well, most of those things are going to change this year. And while I've already skipped ahead to the number 1 seed, shout out to the comment section because gave me a great idea. And also Eduardo in my live chat gave me this information. And I was like, you know what? Let's see how the Detroit Lions can clinch the division. Now, that's a little harder because the number 1 seed is a little easier to get because you have just who has the best record. So that's easier to do. The division, you play your opponents twice a year. So that's 6 games. And you have tiebreakers and all this other stuff that can go into play. But thanks to him and the playoff machine, I have figured out how I wanted to go through it and show you guys how the Detroit Lions could secure the NFC North division. Now, check this out. Going in, it's actually easier than you think, but I'm not looking past any team, all right? So let's make that very clear. I'm not looking past any team on our schedule, any given Sunday. There's no easy games, all that stuff, right? I get it. But here's how the Detroit Lions can win. When is the earliest they can win the division? Okay, so in week 13, happening in just a few hours or so from the making of this video, probably an hour from when you see it, I have the Dallas Cowboys winning this game, but that doesn't matter. We're going to focus on the NFC North games. Okay, the Minnesota Vikings. The Chicago Bears helped us out a lot more than I thought last Monday, so shout out to them. But the Minnesota Vikings are off this week. The first thing we have to do, we have to handle business against the New Orleans Saints. Now, the Detroit Lions have not lost 2 games in a row since the 1-6 start over 1 year ago. So they got a lot riding on the line. So they have to beat the Saints coming up this Sunday. The Vikings are off. Then they would need the Green Bay Packers to lose against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Believe it or not, this is Patrick Mahomes, his first time in Lambeau Field. He never played Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau. I did not know that until I watched the broadcast, so that is crazy. I fully expect those things to happen. Now, the Chicago Bears are not really, they already have 8 losses, I believe, they got 8 losses. They're 4-8, so they're essentially out of it. The Detroit Lions would have to collapse down the stretch in order for them to even have a chance. But this is how they could win the division. Now, let's skip to week 14. The Minnesota Vikings are back. As you can see here, we would need them to lose on the road to the Las Vegas Raiders, which is very, very possible. Then, even if the Green Bay Packers win here, that doesn't matter. So basically, we need the Green Bay Packers to lose once, and we need the Minnesota Vikings to lose at least one of their next 2 games. Okay, so they're off in week 13. If they lose this game, then check this out. You ready? Heading into week 15, the Detroit Lions would simply have to win against the Denver Broncos, their second to last home game, to secure the division. How did I come to that conclusion? The Green Bay Packers can win a game. We've split with them. So if they win this, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win this game, it won't really matter, okay? Or the Green Bay Packers win this game, it won't really matter. So Lions beat the Broncos, so that's a 3-game winning streak. Then we would have the Minnesota Vikings could beat the Bengals. It won't matter, okay? And the Green Bay Packers could win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why do I keep calling them Buccaneers? The Buccaneers, it won't matter. Here's how. Detroit would be 11-3. The Minnesota Vikings would be 7-7. The best they could be would be 10-7. The worst the Detroit Lions could be is 11-6. So even if we dropped our last 3, there you go. Then you have the Green Bay Packers. If the Green Bay Packers are 7-7, the worst the Detroit Lions could be is 11-6. The best the Green Bay Packers could be is 10-7. So that is how the Detroit Lions could secure the NFC North as early as week 13 with winning our next 3 games, which is very possible. having both the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings lose at least one apiece, which is extremely possible. Minnesota's off. Green Bay plays Patrick Mahomes. And I don't think Jordan Love is going to be able to beat him. First time seeing him, I highly doubt it. And in week 15, we can win the division at home, pop the NFC North hats against the Denver Broncos, which we just found out that game will be flexed. We found that out this afternoon, that game will be flexed. And that is why it was, wow, ding. I just had my eureka moment. That's why that game was flexed. That game was flexed because the Denver Broncos will be trying to get into the playoffs. And if the Detroit Lions, if this sequence of things happen, the Detroit Lions could be playing to win the division at home against the Denver Broncos in 2 weeks. How crazy is that? But we must handle business. We must win this Sunday. One game at a time. I know you're like, oh, take one game at a time, and that's cool. You can do that. I like to have a little fun. We only get 17 games of this. We have 7 months of off season and 5 months of in season. So I love every moment of this. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want you to put a percentage. How likely do you think the Lions can go? Because I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to lose when they come back against the Raiders. Raiders might be playing for something. I know the Green Bay Packers are going to lose this Sunday, so that'll wipe them out. So I want you to do two things. How likely do you think the Detroit Lions go 3-0? And do you think they secure the division? Or when do you think they secure the division? I think those are the two things I was talking about. So this is the first time I've ever done this because we've never been this close. I mean, it was how we can make the playoffs with the division. And I want to say that the Minnesota Vikings wrapped up the NFC North somewhere around this time. I think it was when they came back against the Colts, if I'm not mistaken, when they were down 31, or they had the biggest comeback in NFL history, and they secured the division that day, if I'm not mistaken. But how crazy. I tell you, man, the NFL narrative is something. You got to keep watching it because it'll tell you the story before it even starts, man. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.